y'all, welcome to this week's video. We're going to make some delicious food this week. As always, we're going to start out with something super simple. I have been baking all this weekend and I just want something simple today. Y'all, I made some conchas. First time I ever made conchas. These are so good. If I can find the recipe for these online, because this recipe in particular is in a cookbook, but if I can find it online, I will leave it linked down below for you guys so you can try these. Now these are a little time consuming, but these are so good. But anyways, back to what we're making. I'm going to make something that I've made for many years. It's so easy, so simple, but it's absolutely delicious. So we're going to be making mushroom chicken, and this is a recipe that was taught to me by someone I knew that's passed away, and we've made it ever since. But it's so simple. I've got my crock pot here, and I've got it sprayed with a little bit of oil. I've got 2 chicken breasts in here. Now, if you have a bigger family than ours, go ahead and double up on the chicken. You can also do chicken thighs, bone-in chicken, whatever your little heart desires. Chunk it in here. But I've got 2 chicken breasts in here. And I'm going to be using 2 different kinds of cream of mushroom soup. Now you can do any kind of flavor mushroom soup that you want. I've got regular cream of mushroom soup and cream of mushroom soup with roasted garlic. And I'm just going to add both of these cans in here. Now, like I said, if you double up the chicken, add an extra can of sauce or cream of whatever soup you're using. I have also made this with cream of chicken soup, cream of celery soup. I've mixed cream of celery and cream of chicken, just mixed matched different soups, and they all turn out so good. But our favorite is just plain old mushroom. And you can add some sliced mushrooms in here if you want to. And I'm also going to add 1/3 cup of milk. Now this will create its own juice. I don't want it to be too liquidy, so I'm going to add as little liquid as possible. So I'm going to use 1/3 cup of milk. And you can season this up however you want. Today I'm using salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. It's classic. You can't go wrong with it. And just season to taste. Okay, and I'm just going to mix all of this together so that milk and that soup is nice and combined, and that chicken is nice and seasoned. It's going to take a second, but you can also mix the soups up in a bowl and then pour it in here. But for the sake of dishes, I just mix everything in here. It's easier, and I don't have to do a ton of dishes. Alright, so that is nice and combined. That chicken is covered in that sauce. And we are done for now. All I'm going to do now is pop the lid on this. Now you can cook this on low for about 3.5 to 5 hours, depending on how many pieces of chicken you use and how hot your crock pot cooks. But I'm going to cook mine on high for about 2.5 to 3.5 hours. My crock pot cooks hot, so I'm going to check it about 2.5 hours and kind of go from there. When you're working with chicken breasts, if you overcook your chicken breasts, no matter how you cook them, they're going to be dry, and that's not good. So just keep an eye on it. Once your chicken is done and shreddable, it's done. So I'll see you back when this is done. Right before this is done, I'm going to make some rice and some vegetables, and then I'll show you everything when it gets done. Super easy. Alright, the mushroom chicken is done, and I'm just going to serve that over some rice with some mixed vegetables. Now, you can serve this many different ways. I do. I love to serve it this way. This is one of my daughter's favorites. She absolutely loves it. I also omit the chicken and then add the rice to the soup mixture and kind of make a side dish that way. Or sometimes I add some mixed vegetables to the chicken, the mushroom chicken, and mix it in and let it cook that way, and it's so good. Many different ways you can cook this, but it's so delicious. You have got to try it. It's super, super simple, and like I said, you can use any kind of soup that you want, and it's going to be absolutely so good. All right, you guys, today I'm going to try my hand at making chalupas. Now, I've made taco filling before. It's super simple, but it's kind of a different recipe that we're going to make today. But I've never made the chalupa bread. So, we're going to give that a try today. Hopefully, it turns out well. If not, we'll be having tostadas, I guess. Anyways, so for my dough, we're going to start out with the dough. I've got some flour in here, just regular all-purpose. I use unbleached flour because I do sourdough a lot. So I always have unbleached flour on hand, but any kind of all-purpose flour will work just fine. We're going to add some salt, about a teaspoon, and some baking powder. And we're going to give that a little mix. Okay. And I've got some Crisco here. This is about 2 tablespoons. And I'm just going to add that right in there. And we're going to break this up with our hands until it's kind of well mixed together. It should feel kind of like sand. It's going to take me about 2 to 3 minutes, so I will be right back. Okay, so I've got this all mixed together. And I've got some milk here. It's about 1.5 cups. So I'm just going to slowly add this in until it all comes together, preferably in the bowl. Now I'm working with warm milk. It's not too warm, kind of just above room temperature, slightly warm. So I'm just going to add all of this in here and mix it up. All right, now that I've got it all mixed together and it's still quite sticky, I'm going to take it and put it all on my countertop here, and I'm going to knead this for about 5 minutes, just until it's no longer sticking to my hands. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes, and the dough come together very well. I did not add any more flour, and as you can see, it's a very nice dough. Very soft. So I'm just going to shape this into a ball. And I'm going to put this back into my bowl. We're going to cover this and let it rest for about 15 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up a little bit. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get my dough. Well, I'm going to need this bowl, so I'm just going to set it right there. And I'm going to cut these into 8 pieces. And then I'm just going to cut these into 4ths. All right, now I'm just going to shape these into balls. We're going to put them back in our bowl here. And we're going to let them rest while we make our chalupas. So I've got a pan on the stove with about 2 cups of oil in it, and it's coming up to heat. And it's over medium-low heat because I'm cooking in cast iron. It will hold its heat very well. So I'm just going to go ahead and form these, and then we'll shape them out. All right, so I have all of these rolled out, and I'm going to take a little bit of butter and rub it in my hands, and I'm just going to kind of rub it onto the balls here so they don't dry out. It doesn't take much at all. All right, so I'm going to give my hands a rinse, and then we will press these out. All right, so I've got my tortilla press here, and I've got just a Ziploc bag, and it will help kind of keep them from sticking. So I'm just going to take one of these little dough balls, kind of press it down slightly, and top it with the other Ziploc bag. And I'm just going to press these down and then flip it over because it doesn't press them out evenly. I'm just going to press it out like that. I'm going to grab a fork. I'm going to remove that Ziploc bag, cover these back up, and I'm just going to kind of prick a couple of holes in these, and it will help release the air bubbles. And I'm just going to set this to the side while I press out the remaining of my dough. Alright, so my oil is hot. I've got a little plate here that's lined with some paper towel. I've got some tongs, and I've got my dough ready to go. So I am just going to add this down into the pan. We're going to let this cook on this side for about 1 minute or so. Alright, and now we're going to flip it over. Let this cook for about 15 seconds. And then we're going to start shaping it as the directions call for. So we're just going to start shaping these into like little tacos. And we're just going to let these cook until they are nice and golden. Once they're done, I'm going to kind of put them upside down onto the plate over here, so that way they can drain. Okay. Now I'm going to work on the remaining of my chalupas. Alright, so I've got my chalupas done. They're in the oven at the lowest setting, and they're just staying warm while we make the meat portion. I'm going to add just a little bit of oil to my pan. I'm using avocado oil, but you can use whatever kind of oil you have on hand. And we're going to add in some diced onion. This is just half of an onion. And 1 tomato that I've diced. We're going to cook this down for about 3 minutes. Okay, after 3 minutes, we're going to go ahead and add in our beef. I'm using a pound, but the recipe calls for 2 pounds. I'm not cooking that much, so I'm just using a pound. Now we're going to add in our spices. I've got chili powder, cumin, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, salt. I think that's about it. We're just going to add all of that right in here. And we're going to break down this meat, and we're going to cook it until all of this meat is cooked through. Should take about 5 to 8 minutes. Alright, so this meat is almost cooked through, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up and let it cook a little bit longer. I'm going to turn my heat down to low. I'm going to cover this up and let this cook for 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up, and I should be done right about the same time. Alright, so this has been cooking for about 5 minutes. It smells absolutely delicious. So I'm just going to take the lid off and give this a nice little stir. And this is done. I'm going to taste it and check and see if I need any salt. But this is pretty much done. I'm going to turn the heat off, cover this up while I get all of my toppings ready to go, and then we'll make our plate.
Alright y'all, here is my plate. Now I just added my favorite taco toppings, sour cream, lettuce, tomatoes, hot sauce. you can't go wrong. You can add whatever you want. Now, I've made Indian tacos my entire life. I've had them and they're so good, and these are very, very similar to that. They're just shaped differently. But if I can find this particular recipe online, I will leave it linked down in the description box below, or something similar. I will also leave my Indian tacos down below for you guys to check out. You can make either one. It is up to you, but these were so good. Alright, y'all, now we're just going to make some garlic butter chicken. Now, I have absolutely no recipe for this. I'm just kind of winging it, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing. I've got some chicken thighs here that I've just got diced up, and we're going to season this up with some onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, some Greek seasoning, a little bit of oil, and some baking soda. I love using baking soda to tenderize meat. It just gets down in there in the meat and it tenderizes it so well. Then we're just going to mix that all together. We're going to pop a lid on this and we're going to let this marinate for however long you want. I typically do about 10 to 30 minutes, just depending on how much time I have. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, while the chicken is setting over to the side marinating, we're going to go ahead and make some fries. I've got my oven preheating to 425 degrees. We're going to add a little bit of oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, Lowry seasoning, and some paprika to these fries. And we're just going to mix these very well, make sure they're all nice and coated in that seasoning, and then we're going to pop them in the oven. We're going to cook them for 20 minutes. We're going to take them out, flip them over, let them cook for another 20 to 25 minutes. In the meantime, we will cook our chicken. Alright, now the fries have about 20 minutes left to cook. We're going to go ahead and start our chicken. To my skillet here, I've got it over at medium-low heat. I'm going to add in some olive oil. You can use whatever kind of oil that you have on hand. And we're going to add half of the chicken. We're going to spread that out a little bit, and we're going to let this cook on each side for a few minutes until they are nice and golden and cooked through. Then we'll remove those to a plate and repeat the process with the remaining chicken. Now that all of the chicken is done and I've removed it from the pan, I just turn my heat down to low. And now we're going to add in about a quarter of a stick of butter, which is just a couple of tablespoons. You're going to let that melt down. Once that is completely melted, you're going to add in some garlic. You're going to cook that for about 30 seconds, just until you smell that garlic. You're going to add all of the chicken back in, including its juices. Give that a nice toss in all of that delicious garlic butter. And then you're going to add in some fresh parsley, and I've just got it chopped up. You're going to give that a toss together, and it's going to be so good. Once that is all mixed together, you're good to go, and it's ready to serve. Alright, y'all, here is my plate. I just served the chicken with the fries, and you can serve it with any kind of your favorite dipping sauce. I use ranch, as always. It's one of our favorites. We always have it on hand, but this was so simple to make and so full of flavor and delicious. You're going to love it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section down below. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.